Okay, everybody, we got this 94 Pathfinder that is fully modified everywhere at this point, and I still need to do some welding in here, but I don't have my welder fixed up yet. I ran out of materials, and I've been working, and they're closed whenever I get off work. So I got this skin in today. This is for a hardbody tailgate, and I am going to fit it onto the Pathfinder rear hatch. The Pathfinder is a little bit narrower than the tailgate, so it should work pretty good. So that's flush right there, and we have a few inches on this side of play, so that's gonna work great. And the body line is in a different spot than in the truck, so what I'm gonna have to do, so that's the bottom of the body line, and so is that. So I'm going to have to cut this off, and then maybe cut it a little bit shorter than that because of the way this bows kind of bends a little bit. But on this side, what I can do is cut that to where it needs to be right there. Let's see if I can smash it around. This tailgate skin is built with a ledge to smash that around. I'm not going to be able to unskin the entire skin off of this because of up here. Anyway, I'll figure this out. I'm hoping that I can get rid of some of these holes with this skin, but we will see, because if it gets into that bend, which it is, then it's probably going to be easier for me just to weld these up with a piece of steel from the back side. But anyway, I've got to keep that anyway. I'll just try to come below that, see what I can do. I might go buy a tool to step this down. I might be able to cut it down here and then step it down the thickness of this steel, and then if I cut it in the right spot, it will set on that step down, and then I can just tack weld it into place until it is fully solid weld across, not to get it warped and hot and warped. And anyway, it's gonna be a long process. I'll try to keep you updated on that. And alright, so I will cut you back on later. Okay, first things first, getting all of your body lines to be about as close as you can get them. This one is just a hair closer than that side, but step up here. I'm already a hair high on this versus the cab, and on this side I am a hair low. So what I did is I used my hammer, and where this bolts in right there, I beat it up 1/8 of an inch or so, and then I refit the hatch, and now it lines up way better than it did. But if I go any further, it's going to be off up there to get it exact here. If you go up there, it will turn this whole thing, pulling it closer here and further here. I cannot drop this side without it being off anymore. I cannot raise that side without it being off anymore. The best way to do it would be to drop this side and tap this down. It's not that important to me. I think this body line is going to be close enough. I am just going to wing it at this point. It is a hair close here, so what I will end up doing is shaving some off of this or tapping this down right on that edge, which it looks like it might be bent up. So tapping that down is probably going to be what I need to do. I had they're outside. Maybe I'll show you later in this video. But the hatch that I did have on this, I'll zoom out. There we go. See if I, no, that's as far as it'll go out. So what I did is I cut the hatch that I had on here right up the middle, and then I cut it right along there. And the top part, metal and all frame with the glass, opened up and then closed separate from the bottom, with the bottom split in the middle. I had Nissan truck front door hinges on the sides, and I modified them to go a full 90 degrees, and each side would open 90 degrees. This side would open 90 degrees, and I had outside truck door handles on the inside. So what I could do is open the top hatch, reach in, real easy, and then just open the door handle right there, and this would flip back. And you do the same here. You open that and this would flip back. And then I mounted a spare tire right here with a lot of bracing, and put a hub, a front hub off of the hard body, and the spare tire was spinning. And when I did that, I cut this out and reinforced that so that my spare tire could be sitting as close to the body as possible and not sticking out like a sore thumb. I only gained about an inch, but it did help. I mean, an inch is an inch. So I've decided against doing that, mainly because whenever I started putting this in, the door was hitting this. And the only way to get around that is redo the whole thing, and I kind of on a tight frame for time. I don't have the schedule for time to finish another door. I cut it right in the middle of that, and I was unable to use this, and that's what I needed. So I was going to cut this one down below that, keep this so that I could use a key to open this top hatch with a key, and then reach in and open the two sides separate. Anyway, now I'm not doing any of that because of my tight schedule on time. So, all that being said, now I can raise this. My spare tire spins, and it is mounted in here. It'd be fine. It'd be fine. Keep telling myself that. It's not what I want, but it'll be fine. Especially if I sell this, which is kind of in my plan, is to sell this Pathfinder basically as soon as I get done with it and pay some bills. But yeah, it may happen, it may not. Anyway, so that's about as good as I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna have to fix this right here, and that is bent right there, so that's gonna have to be repaired anyway. And I will have to cut the body line in this and build that like I did this one. And this one is going to have to be modified because that is not straight. It's not where I want. It was probably straight with the other one, but the other one might have been bent right here because I've been welding on it and beating on it. This one is a lot straighter hatch. So now what I'm going to do is zoom you back to 1.0 whatever. So I'm going to take this and set it up on there and figure out where I need to start cutting, which piece that I need to start cutting on first. Anyway, I'll figure something out and I will get back with you. I think I'm gonna sleep on this, but I've got the tape. If I was to keep the tape on the top, cut the tape at the bottom, just cut right next to that edge, that would allow me to keep all of the bend and then I could line my body line up where it is supposed to be. Right here I put some marks, and then I could just maybe cut to the edge of that. I gotta go to town and get the rest of my welding supplies, so I may look and see if I can find a cheap bender. If I was to cut 1/4 of an inch lower than that tape edge, that would give me a spot that I could make a little step to put that. I think it's either 18 or 14. I think it's 18 gauge. I could put that on the step and weld that. Maybe even panel bond it and weld it if I was to give 1/2 or 3/4 of an inch of step. Then I could really panel bond that in. I don't think I have any panel bond. That is my gun for the panel bond, but I think this is seam sealer. So that won't work. I can always order some, but then kind of defeats the purpose of getting this 3-day mailed to me. This piece, they did a really good job getting it to me quick, and I would really like to get it put on. So anyway, I'm gonna sleep on this. This video might get long, but hopefully not, and we will see where we can go with it tomorrow. Okay, what I decided to do was measure from here up. I went 8 inches and made a line, and that is way before it gets into the bend. And I'm gonna go ahead and do that, even though these holes will still be in the top of the deck, and I'll have to weld those up. That's okay. It's gonna be easiest to weld away from that bend because this does not have a bend in it. So I'm going to cut 8 inches from the top of that. It's actually the very bottom edge of the body line. So 8 inches up on both sides, and I used a straight edge level. And I'm probably going to see if I can use a plasma cutter. It might get warm. I don't really want this to get warm like at all. I might use a cutoff wheel. A cutoff wheel is not going to be as precise if I was to follow a straight edge with a plasma cutter. And then I can hold it up to this body and kind of see where it needs to be. I think I'm just going to go ahead and butt weld it and not buy any special tools, because if I was to start crimping the lip like a little ledge, if I was to try to crimp this with a ledge, it would probably warp this, just putting a crimp in it. It might not warp that, but that's a lot thicker. It's going to be harder to crimp an edge like a lip. I don't know. So I'll have to, at that point, line that up and then cut on that line, and then I will have to deskin this using a grinder right on the edge. Deskin this whole bottom part, and I will peel that off, and with the cut on top I'll peel that off, and then this should be ready to reskin with this. It's going to be a little bit long, so I'll end up having to cut a little piece out there and possibly be able to use it here. Probably not going to be enough for both sides. That would be really cool, but probably not going to work. But we'll see, and I will cut you back on here in just a little bit. I went ahead and set this up with the plasma cutter. I used a 2-inch angle, and it doesn't reach the other end, but that's gonna be fine. I'll just move it to the other side. It'd probably be better if it went to the other side, but all I've got is super long stuff other than that piece. So I'll just kind of wing it. Some of this other has got imperfections, so I might look at using that, but I don't know. We'll see. But anyway, I used the plasma cutter like I said, and used this angle as a straight edge, and it cut that off real easy. Like, that's the edge that I have now. I went ahead and put it on the marks that I had made. I got the body line pretty close right there where it needs to be. This is gonna have, it's like bowed a little bit more than probably a tailgate of a truck. So I'm hoping that I can pull a bow in it, because it's not wanting to sit flat on either side right here. But anyway, I raised this up and I put a mark on the back side right here. Because that's too wide. So at this point I am going to take this back off with the vice grips here, and I will trim the width that I need, and then I'll figure out what I need to do from there. I got my width cut off that I don't need anymore. I'll probably end up using that right here on the side, but for now we'll toss it down there. I put it back on. I raised the hatch up, and I put, what that was, sounded like somebody screaming. Anyway, that was weird. Then I put a line right there. I'm gonna go ahead and lower this back down and take the vice grips back off, get this back on the floor, and then I will make that cut. I thought I'd show you these doors. These are the doors that I was talking about that I had cut. This one's upside down. There's the inside door handle. There's the latch. It latches on the bottom. That's where I mounted the spare that spins. That's where I had the hub mounted. This one was French 10 license plate. Anyway, that's how they worked. I went ahead this morning and finished painting these wheels. These are the wheels that I had painted from the other day. These I painted this morning. I prepped them last night and painted them this morning. I went ahead and stuck them on here. It started sprinkling on me this morning, so this one has some imperfections in it. I'm not probably going to be happy with it. Still a bit tacky. I may end up having to redo these. But you can see the pearl, maybe. It's not too bad. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do some more cutting on this. Alright, I'm not very far into this as far as time, so everything on top seems to be good. There is a low spot, I think, in the panel, or this is slightly bent out right here. It'll line up pretty good, I'm sure. It sucks I'm not going to be able to get these holes right now, but I'll just come back. It's not the end of the world. And the body line, when you push it together, it lines up really nice on both sides. This is pretty much exactly where I want it at this point. That one might be just a hair low. Might tap that up just a hair. It is a hair low. So I'll tap that up just a hair. It's even low to my mark. And then I'll come back and look at it. This center is touching the original skin, and both sides are coming out in the bottom corners. And if I push them both in at the same time, it looks like it's going to warp. So what I'm planning to do at this point is push in the center and tack weld it, and then I'll come over a couple inches and tack weld it, and more, and tack weld it. Do the same thing to the other side. I'll just creep into it and see if I can pull that out and keep it from warping anything in the middle. That is my plan. And once I get this pushed up on there, I'm going to have a hole right here. The tailgates do the same thing. So I'll just have to build a little piece that will fit into that and weld in and clean that edge up. That's all I can think of right now. It's going to look a lot better. You can already tell the body line going all the way around the vehicle is going to make this look way better. Okay, so I will continue on and I'll cut you back on in a minute. Went ahead and put a mark across the top of that. Once I got it lined up, it was low, but it wasn't that low. Everything lines up good. I'm going to roll with that right there. And I think what I'm going to do is leave some of this outside to weld on, give the factory hatch a little bit more structure, because whenever I push this side, it moves that side out. And this skin needs to be flush with this. I don't want this to move at all. So I think I'm just going to cut some holes out and leave the outside structure put together. And it may require a little bit of body filler on this or some metal work to get it pushed out. Just the thickness of 18 gauge steel. Alright, I'll cut you back on. Alright, this is what we've got now. I used a flat disc on a grinder flat disc, and ground down all my edges so that I can weld onto that. And there is the piece I cut out, and here is the piece that is going in. That's mainly just to help lighten, because the struts that are on the back of this are designed for a certain amount of weight, and since I'm doubling up here, I'm already adding some weight. And also this is quite a bit thicker, probably twice as thick as the factory, and it's going to add weight. So it should work as long as I have a pair of new struts on that. But this is going to need some lube. It's kind of getting sticky. Anyway, I'll work on that, and I'll see about putting this skin on. If I took this grounding clamp off, I've got a hammer laying in there, don't I? Alright. So now I can see the bottom of this doesn't line up real well anyway. So I'm going to have to do some tweaking. But I'll get it all lined out, I'm sure. And I'll catch you back on. Alright. I'm blasting right through this thing. Everything is lined up. The warp is pretty much gone. I don't know. It's looking pretty good. I think I'm ready to start welding this. I have just a little bit of welding supplies left. Not much. And I'm waiting on a guy to come fix my internet. And I cannot leave the house. So it's a hair long right here. I'm going to go ahead and, I think in my previous video I said that I was out of wire. I was not out of wire. I'm out of gas. My welding gas is like empty. Needle didn't even move, but I have enough to at least get me a few tack welds, so I can just tack weld where I need to, and you know, kind of play with it. And it's a little low right here. I don't know, it's moving, but it feels like it's high, so I'm just gonna assume that it's a dent in the original panel. This is gonna require body filler anyway. I'm just gonna weld across here, and I know that's not a butt weld, but we'll be fine. It's overlapping. I'm gonna have to restructure a lot of this anyway where it lines up with. I'm just gonna be fine with it. I have to make all that up as I go. Let's see this little guy. That was the bottom of the tailgate. You're supposed to lip that over to skin that. And it appears that is going to be pretty close, if not the exact same size. It's gonna be awesome. I think I have enough material right there to trim off, so I think this is gonna work great. That body line is gonna be perfect. Wish I had one for this side. I just have to restructure that. Hey, my internet guy's pulling in the house now. I'll cut you back on. Okay, we're moving right along. That all feels pretty good right there. Everything looking good. I'm gonna have to kick this out or something, which is kind of expected, but oh, if it wasn't sitting on that hammer, it would line up better. All right. So anyway, we're getting there slowly. Got a lot of massaging to do, but it is definitely getting there. I've got it tack welded pretty good around, enough to hold it for a little while. Before I run out of this gas, I'm gonna go ahead and try to fill in some of this, because that is very time consuming, and I have a little bit of time to kill. I'm gonna go ahead and fill my gas up later today before they close, but not right now. So I'll catch you back on in a little bit. I went and grabbed this roll pan off the shelf and went and stuck it on there. That is going to clean up all of these other lines, so no problem whatsoever. This roll pan is from Grant's Customs. They don't make this anymore. Nobody makes this anymore. It's probably one of a kind at this point, so I cannot let this get damaged. I'm gonna have to be very, very careful putting this body back on, because it's gonna be tight right here. I've got some stuff that kind of hangs back. If I have to cut the frame and make the back portion of the frame bolt in, then I will, just to keep from damaging that roll pan. I could maybe cut it here and have this whole back little piece, a couple inches here, just bolt in place, and then I could even make a receiver hitch on it as well. Easier that way if I need one. If I end up keeping this, I'll probably end up putting a receiver hitch on to pull my little air ride trailer that I have. I think instead of making this video like an hour long or whatever, I will pick this video back up later. So what I've done is got all of this welded in real slow, and I welded the sides here up. I still have to build a filler plate for there. I will just grind that down to metal and put a piece of metal in there. I'll cut it with the shears and tack weld all of that together really slow. And I've got the bottom kind of spot welded here and there. I'm gonna have to get this up on the table and finish welding the bottom and the sides, and I will fill in these holes here. I've talked to a locksmith today already, and he possibly can rekey this. He says he doesn't really have much for Nissan. I guess the little needles or whatever inside are different, but hopefully I can get that rekeyed. And there is a dent here. A tree or something fell, I don't know. It was not mine when that got dented. And I'm tempted to shave all of this, which won't be a big deal, and I'm going to get the spoiler off of the one that I had cut right here and had it raising up. So I maybe have a key on that. I may not have to have this rekeyed, but I will look. And so that I don't have to worry about losing footage and go back and forth. This body is in my way, and I don't really have room in here to work comfortably and have that up on sawhorses. I will get back with you on how I'm fixing that, but it is with this plate right here. Fits up in there pretty snug. I'm gonna start welding this in. I'm getting a phone call right now. It looks like a telemarketer. So I'm gonna go ahead and call this a video, and I will cut you back on next time. And I went ahead, I've got some blue up here now. So until next time, I will update you more later, and y'all have a great day.